Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably can guess, New Japan continues with more of the second round matches in, of course, the New Japan Cup. The main event features, of course, Shota Umino getting a bit of a rematch against Great Khan. The real question will surprise, will Khan finally get another upper hand on him, or Shota Umino gets his revenge? That is the obvious question. And then we move on, of course, with more with WWE Evolve, featuring more matches, especially people involved in the WWE ID. So that's going to be a very interesting to go through. And then finally, AEW Dynamite. As you can guess, we entered the fallout after, of course, a revolution. The real question is, where do we go from here? What does the AEW World Champion goes from there, or anybody else who have defended their championship? That is a good question. So we're going to go through all of that through A to Z. And then finally, some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everybody, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, got real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us to click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have been said. I believe it's time to hit the highway. So let's begin with, of course, with day 4 of the New Japan Cup by New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, day 4 of the New Japan Cup by New Japan Pro Wrestling. They were at the uh, Uwajima City General Gymnasium. And of course, we are going to continue with more of the second round matches. So let's begin with the non-tournament matches just to get all of that out of the way. Our first match, we have Daiki Nagai teaming up with Yoshihashi, taking on just 4 guys consisting of Taka Michinoku and Yuya Uemura. Now remember, Uemura defeated, of course, Yoshihashi in the second round of the New Japan Cup. The real question is, will history repeat itself? Well, this time, of course, it was Taka Michinoku who walked away the win with the rookie when he applied a crossface. And just like that, of course, Nagai had no other choice but the tap. And then, of course, it ended with Yuya Uemura applying the post-match promo. Don't know what he said, but I'm sure that he is very happy that he's proceeding even further in the New Japan Cup. Now, our next match, we have Tomohiro Ishii, Satoshi Kojima, and Yuji Nagata taking on Katsuya Murashima, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Hiroki Goto. Now, keep in mind, this is another preliminary match between Goto and Nagata. Remember, Nagata was now the next challenger for the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. So far, we have seen both men picked up wins here and there for the momentum. But the real question you ask yourselves, who gets the momentum? Well, it was Kojima who picked up the momentum when he took out the young lion Murashima with the lariat, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Next up, we got the United Empire, consistent of TJP, Cal Newman, and Jeff Cobb, taking on TMDK's Hartley Jackson, Rohei Oiwa, and Zack Sabre Jr. Now, of course, you probably would think nothing too special, but however, you know you don't want to miss out when it comes to a big hoss fight between both Jeff Cobb and Hartley Jackson. The real question is, who's going to have the upper hand between those two? Well, to my surprise, it turned out to be Jeff Cobb when he gave him a tour of the islands, and just like that, uno, dos, tres, adios. Now, our next match, we have Toru Yano, Yado, El Fantasmo, and Bolton Oleg taking on LIJ's Bushi, Yota Tsuji, Tetsuya Naito, and Shingo Takagi. Nothing too special about this match in any way possible. But however, it was Tsuji who picked up the win when he gave, of course, Yado a stomp into the hedge all the way down, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, he picked up the win. Now, as you probably know, the war between the House of Losers and the War Dogs continue. Now, before the War Dogs made their presence known, well, Show with his smock, cocky attitude that needs a little bitch slap in the face to wake up, is telling the entire world, hey, the War Dogs are out. They're not Bullet Club. Now, we all know the history of the Bullet Club. The problem is the Bullet Club are all foreigners, and now they want to claim it. They're living in another delusional La La Land, like what happened with Tanahashi. Now they're saying that. However, of course, we have for the House of Losers, we have Kanemaru, Yujiro, Sho, Ren Narita, and Evil in the mix. However, for the Bullet Club, we have Chase Owens, Bad Luck Fale, Sonata, Drilla Maloney, and David Finlay. However, the one thing I think many people are questioning is what is going on in the mind of Sonata. Now, the real question I ask myself, can David Finlay trust him, or the Sonata has other things in mind? We cannot deny the fact that Sonata and Evil do have a shared history. They were once members of the LIJ, and they were tag partners. So the real question, what's going to happen now? I think maybe David Finlay is having second thoughts, because the way this match ended, as usual with the shenanigans with House of Torture cheating their way through, well, of course, Chase Owens ended up on the wrong side of the bloody cross by Narita, giving, of course, a smug look on the face of the House of Losers. But as for the War Dogs, I think many of them are questioning Sonata's loyalty. Where does he stand? They know his history with Evil, but the real question is, can history repeat itself? Is he capable of betraying David Finlay? That's a very good question. I guess we have to wait and see. Now, our next match, our next two matches are part of the New Japan Cup. The first one, we have Taichi versus Gabe Kidd. Now, what's interesting about this match is simple. Those who know this about Gabe Kidd, he is in fact a homegrown New Japan wrestler trained in the dojo. However, Taichi, many of you may know this, he actually used to walk the King's Road. If those who are not familiarized with that term, that means he came from All Japan Pro Wrestling. So basically, it's more like King's Road and Strong Style Clash. So I think it's more like for Gabe Kidd to saying who will reign supreme between those two styles. And I think that's a good question. I mean, these guys went over the top in any way to destroy each other, but this match was effing ruined by the House of Losers, because one day someone needs to wipe those jerk monkeys off. They even cost Gabe Kidd the match. They even interfered, but the match ended in a count out. But Taichi is not satisfied. He is pissed as hell that the House of Losers once again stick their nose where they didn't belong, and they attack Gabe Kidd, ruining the moment. Of course, the House of Losers doesn't give a damn about what they want. They try to act like they think they're the baddest. And I think David Finlay's starting to see they are a bunch of losers. But I wouldn't be surprised if Taichi demands a rematch, but this time they will make sure no interference gets involved. But we'll see what happens. Now for our main event, we have Shota Umino taking on Great Khan. If you guys remember, these two faced off last month or so in a new beginning in Osaka, resulting of Shota Umino losing, then shave his head. But the real question we ask ourselves: will Great-O-Khan once again beat him and prove his point, or will this new Shota Umino changes? Well, of course, Great-O-Khan took great pleasure. To me, the one thing I dislike Khan, he acts like he effing runs the entire world. Someone needs to shut him up. But Shota Umino showed that he's not giving up no matter what. But he did took him out, but not using the what was it? The Death Rider. He actually used the Northern Light Bomb, which was more effective. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he won. And during the post match promo, well, he didn't say anything. He just walked off. Now, I gotta ask myself, did Great-O-Khan thinks he can get away with something like this? Hey, Khan, hope you're watching this, fool. You made this mess. You thought you were gonna advance. Well, too bad. Hope you live with your decision deciding to attack the Umino. Hope you're proud for yourself. Because who knows what's gonna go on with Shota Umino. Now, I'm not saying I like what Shota Umino is. I say you created a monster. So, you better prepare if you're gonna plan to fix it. So, I think we're done here with New Japan. Let's move on with WWE Evolve. Okay, WWE Evolve. This is week 2 so far. I have to say, we're seeing some good matches. We opened up with Stevie Turner, as you probably know. She was there on behalf of NXT manager Ava, talking about, of course, the main event featured 2 NXT talent. So we'll get to that a bit. However, we did see in the VIP section Kendall Gray and Carly Bright, who, as you know, in week 1, they were successful in winning their match. But however, they were rudely interrupted by It's Gal, and just like that, being with that smug, cocky look, just got in between them. I don't know if he's looking for, some excitement. I don't know. But anyway, let's get started with the match. Our first match, we have Harlan Lewis taking on Brandon Cole. Now, I don't know much about this guy, Brandon Cole, but I have seen Harlan Lewis before, but this was during NXT Level Up. But it's great that he's involved. He picked up a pretty good win when he applied a powerbomb onto him. But for some odd reason, of course, he was doing his usual post-match comment, what is he planning to do, until Keanu Carver shows up. And then Ed Scale decided to open his big fat mouth onto Keanu and ended up in the match. And then, of course, it became Itzgal and Keanu Carver. Now, you would think that Itzgal should have kept his mouth shut. Well, he did not, because he got brutalized by Keanu Carver in the ring until he gave him like a very high sky power bomb, and blam! Just like that. 1, 2, 3. It was over. Now, we do see an interview with both Kendall Gray and Kylie Bright. As you know, they has been successful, but the real question is, where did they go from here? They talk about maybe doing things as a tag team, but however, they were interrupted by Zeta Steel, who made her way to the VIP section. So it's kind of interesting on that. So we'll see where that goes from there. Now, our next match, we have 2 wrestlers who are also part of the WWE ID prospect. We're talking about Smiley Kylie Ray and Zara Zacher. Those who don't know this, I actually met her once before. A real nice person. And it's great to see that both of them were talking. They even acknowledged Zara Zacher's success in Japan. She will participate in another event soon. Um, I was not too sure how this was going to go because I was a bit biased, but it was, of course, well, if you guys saw the VIP section, Zeta Steel once again decided to bitch about everything else like always, but it was, of course, Zeta Zacher with the roll up on Kylie Ray, and just like that, she won. However, during the post match comments, she talked, that of course this was a big upset because she knows who she's facing. She knows that she was not facing a slouch. She knows Kylie Ray's reputation. But however, out of nowhere, Wendy Chu shows up. I don't know, gave her like a freaking doll, and then something that freaked her out. I don't know what exactly goes on in the mind of Wendy Chu. Now, as for Wendy Chu, she ended up in the ring facing Aria Bennett. So you probably can guess that you don't know what Aria Bennett is going to get herself into. I mean, Wendy Chu is a very dangerous individual, but she was able to walk away with the win when she put her to sleep with the sleeper hold, and just like that, it was over. Don't know what's next for Wendy Chu. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, back in the VIP section, while Kendall Gray and Carly Bright were having a good time, their old pal, Brinley Reese, as you know, is having a time of her life, telling them they hope they have a great time in the VIP section. But she tells them that next week she's going to make a headway. So we're going to see what happens. And then in the back, we did see a little face-to-face confrontation between Luca Crucifino and Big Body Javi, or Javier Bernal. Apparently, Javier Bernal misinterpreted what's his name, Luca Crucifino was talking about. He thought he was talking about him, but it wasn't true. And I think Javier Bernal, is trying to say that he has changed his ways, but Luca Crucifino doesn't care about what he has done. I think he's just doesn't want to deal with him. Now, back to the VIP section. Well, the ladies, Carly Bright and Kendall Gray left. They were the new people who occupied this section was last week's winners in the main event. Jack Cartwheel, Cappuccino Jones, and Sean Legacy. They were having a time of their life until they were interrupted by Kylie Armstrong, who wants to have a little talk with what's her name, with Brinley Reese. Well, good luck with that. So we'll see what happens from there. And as for our main event, we have Ota Mensa taking on Riley Osborne. Now, we haven't seen Riley Osborne since Chase U closed. That was Andre Chase lost against Rich Holland a couple of weeks, about last year or so. But the real question is, will he bounce back from what happened? Well, we don't know. I mean, they were doing spectacular job until Ota Mensa applied like a move with the heel kick of some sorts, and just like that, 1, 2, 3 is over. However, while the whole match was going nuts, chaos erupted in the back stage. Of course, they had to interrupt. Gallus is back. Yep, as their usual shenanigans. So they decided to walk the party. So this is something I think Evolve has to be more careful. I mean, NXT had to deal with them in every way possible, but now we just don't know. So we'll see where that leads us from there. But for right now, we'll end things here. We'll see what happens next week. Let's move on to our last and final review, AEW Dynamite. Okay, AEW Dynamite. As you all remember, we are now in the fallout after Revolution. But the real question we ask ourselves from here, where do we go from here? What's next for the champions that retain their belts and those who had special matches like Will Ospreay and all that? So let's get through all of that from A all the way to Z. All right. First we have is our brand new AEW International Champion, Kenny Omega. Of course, he had a lot of people to thank for what he went through, not to mention thanking someone he probably would never thought he would thank is, of course, the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay. But he did thank Konosuke Takeshita. Now, I know what some of you guys think. Why would he thank them? Well, he said that he pushed them as far as he couldn't imagine. So basically, it's true. I mean, Takeshita was a real handful to put down. So there's that. But of course, it's no secret now that as the international champion, it's the possibility who will be next. Now, as soon as he was making his way, he bumped into the ops, and the one person staring him down is none other than the wrestler himself, Katsuyori Shibata. However, Shibata, along with Hook and Samoa Joe, were in the match against Vinny Pacifico, Eli Thesis, and Gabriel Ario. Now, of course, I don't need to tell you how this match will go. And if you guessed it right, yes, the Ops won thanks to Shibata with the PK onto, I believe, his arrows, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, the Ops won the match. Now, Ricochet, as you probably know, yes, he can admit that he lost, but he thinks that the rope was a waste of time. So what's next for him? Well, it's surprise, surprise, is the International Championship. Now, there's this thing called the Dynasty International Title Eliminator Qualifier. So basically, he wants to be part of that. And then, of course, he talked about Shibata, telling him, don't bother showing up in Collision. Just walk away, let me do my thing. Shibata doesn't back down from anybody, especially for Ricochet. But we'll see what happens. Now, speaking of what's next, as you probably can guess too, where does Swerve goes from here? Well, he just called his shot, telling Moxley he'll be coming for him at Dynasty. But however, Copeland said that he respects him, knowing too well, hey, you got your title shot with him, I got mine next week since A, I wasn't pinned, and B, I didn't lose. So basically, he gets a fair shot. So he told him, if I beat him, I might meet you at Dynasty, but if I don't, then you know who you're going to beat. So basically, he respects Swerve's calling his shot. So that it's obvious right there. Now, of course, Moxley, as you probably can guess, well, he's probably thought in his godforsaken mind that he was done with Cole, but he should have known better that Christian got in the way. Well, he should have dealt with him a long time ago, but he didn't. But, Christian was too much of a coward to deal with him. Now, our next match, we have Hologram and Powerhouse Hobbs, and they were being accompanied by Harley Graham. Yeah, Harley Graham, you know what it is. So they had to deal with Dralistico and Brian Cage. But what was interesting is when Hologram was outside and what's his name, Beast Morto, who's by the side of Dralistico, was almost about to hurt Hologram. Hologram tried to use a little sex appeal, and Dralistico's like, "Hey man, what the hell are you doing, dude? Pay attention." So basically, he just I don't know if he got stunned, didn't know what to do when he saw a hot chick or something, but that's just how it is. But however, you can tell that this match won by Hobbs when he applied, of course, the spine buster on Dralistico, and just like that, uno, dos, tres, adios. Now, we did see an interview with Alicia Atute talking to, of course, the Hurt Syndicate. As you probably remember, the Hurt Syndicate, in fact, retained the AEW tag team belts. So the real question is what's next. However, MVP did mention that Bobby Lashley and, of course, Shelton Benjamin, well, they deserve a week off. But, of course, Bobby wanted to go to the gym, said, no, don't do that. And, of course, Shelton Benjamin's like, going to the gym? Nah, I don't think so. So, basically, just you two, relax, enjoy your time, while I'm the one taking care of business. Now, in the middle of the staging area, we did see Toni Storm. As you probably know, her feud with Mariah May is over. Capuche, adios, final. Just like that. But she's also been paying attention to the other champions, such as, of course, Mercedes Moné and the Forever Champion. So now it's more like she's beginning a chapter. But the real question is, who will be the one to challenge her? Well, apparently someone responded to that, and that is, of course, Megan Bain. So looks like she's the one who's entering the phrase into it. So I wouldn't be surprised of that. Now, our next match is part of the Dynasty International Title Eliminator Qualifier match. We have Beast Mortos taking on a wild card opponent. Well, this wild card is someone that we've been hearing will be coming soon, but we didn't expect it. Now it's Speedball Mike Bailey. Yep, that's right. Speedball, we did not expect it. Of course, people have given him high regards. Not only because he's an international wrestler, wrestled in the UK, in Japan, but also in the US recently. And man, he really tried to throw in a bit of the martial arts status into Beast Mortos. But Beast Mortos, he's a very tough and strong individual. But unfortunately, he got a kick in the face right by Speedball. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he won the qualifier. So he's in. Now, this is where things got interesting. I did mention this after the Revolution main event, that Christian was going to bitch about this. And I was right. Renee Paquette was trying to ask why did he chose to cash it in at this moment. But Christian, who has his head so far his butthole, refuses to talk because he feels, Renee, you're married to the person. So, now this is what the excuse. that he is saying. He said that the referee made a bad call. And this is what I think he's a total hypocrite. He's claiming he told that the referee is between me and Cope. Uh what does Cope have to do with this? He's not the champion. Moxley's. I mean, this is the problem. He thinks that if he wins against Cope, it's over. He's the AEW World Champion. It doesn't work that way. Mox was the champion. And then he goes saying, that this whole thing with the contract was invalid. And he said, I did not tap out. I didn't pass out. You did pass out, you idiot. But Nick Wayne was saying, stop lying. We had a plan set up and you blew it. Now, I'm kind of curious about that. What plan did he have? Was he expecting Cope to win? Or did his desperation got the better of him? That's the thing that kind of gets me to think. Did his own desperation to become world champion got the best of him? I would say yes. And I think Nick Wayne is saying, you messed up. You made you altered the plan, and this is what happened. But Christian decided to take it there. Even Shayna was trying to defend him until shut up and say, or I'll send you back to the Waffle House. And then he goes out once again with the dead daddy routine about how many world titles his dad held. But I think the problem is Christian is a total hypocrite. He messed up. He wants to say that that this whole thing was invalid. Hey, you signed it, dickhead. So we'll see what happens. Now, MJF, as you probably go, he's probably not happy the way the results were. He decided, this thing with Hangman was not over. But MVP wanted to recruit him into the Hurt Syndicate. Well, MJF was not, okay with this. So he just ripped off the card. So you can guess that. Now, once again, with the open challenge by Max Caster. Oh my God. He's not going to win the open challenge because the person who responded was Konosuke Takeshita. And of course, he pushed his button. He called Kenny out, and then he mentioned Kenny's name, and then he got Raging Fire, and you can guess, 1, 2, 3, adios. Now Jericho, well, once again, he's trying to get under the skin of Bandito, saying this is your fault for what happened to your brother. This is your fault that your sister and mother cried for gravity, because once again he feels like this is all his fault. Yeah, I mean, you're just upset because he's back. We'll see about that. Our next match, we have Wilton Nightingale versus Penelope Ford. As you know, this is not the first time they dealt with each other. And of course, Willow won the match when she applied the pounds. And just like that, 1, 2, 3. However, Penelope Ford attacked Willow with the chair. But Chris Statlander tried to save her. But of course, Willow does not trust Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander has been trying to make amends for what happened last year. But all of a sudden, while this little talky talk was happening, Mega Bane showed up, and just like that, Mega Bane just destroyed both Willow and Chris Statlander. Now there was an exclusive content. They wanted her response. Why? Why did you do that? First Tony Storm, then Willow and Statlander. Why? Well, she didn't get a response, but she just looked back at the camera, then smiled and just walked away. Looks like she doesn't need to give her reasons. Now, Mercedes Moné, as you know, is happy that she retained the belt, but apparently another challenger just showed up, and that is Billy Starks. So I have to say, Billy Starks has a lot of guts to stand up. So I have to say, I give her props. Now, Tony Schiavone had the privilege to talk to the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay, about his match that he took place this past Sunday in Revolution. Well, he talked about how banged up he is, but the one thing that was very interesting is that he talked about his wife, telling her how he lied to her, saying, do not go up to the top of the cage. Well, he lied. He did it anyway. So basically, he realized what he was getting himself to. But however, once the match was over, he mentioned how he looked back, saw the 15 missed calls from her. Then he said he called her back, pretending that, like, he's saying that it felt like, pulling off the pin of a hand grenade. And of course she was gonna get mad. But he said that he's a very charming guy, that he's gonna take care of her, make her nice dinner and do whatever. But Of course, with that all aside, Tony Schiavone did ask the obvious question that we've been saying: where does Will Ospreay goes from here? What's next for him? Well, he has been paying attention on what's been happening. Cope will be taking his shot for the AEW World Title next week. Swerve will be taking his shot at Dynasty. But for Will Ospreay, well, he thought when he will happen, and that's going to be All In. But the only way he has to get to that is if he has to win the Owen Hart tournament. So it's not an easy task, but we'll see. Now, speaking of world titles opportunities, it seems Jay White, of course, he did confess during an interview with Renee, saying it was an accident. I didn't mean to hit him. But of course, he also has the opportunity. He wants to have his opportunity too. So basically, people are lining up. I'm sure Moxley cannot control this, but yes, it could happen. And then finally, Renee Paquette had the privilege to talk to Hangman about the recent match. He was willing to move on, but of course, MJF was like not done with them, and all of a sudden, Hangman tells, "Did you really work trying to burn me alive?" Well, he, of course, MJF says yes, but Hangman doesn't think he had the guts to do it, but you know how that turns out. But we'll see. Now our main event, of course, is the continuation of the Dynasty International Eliminator qualifier. We have Orange Cassidy versus Hechiseto. Man, Hechiseto really stepped up his game. He knew what he was facing. However, he tried to dismantle the arm of Orange Cassidy to ensure he does not use the arm punch. I have to say, Hechiseto played a very smart call. But, of course, there's other ways for Orange Cassidy to win. And he pulled up a move that he hasn't used for a while, and that is, of course, the mousetrap. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, he's inside, and he joins, of course, Mike Bailey. So the real question is, who will be the two lucky dudes to join Bailey and, of course, Orange into the qualifier? We'll see. So I think that's pretty much it, what we have with AEW Dynamite. Let's move on with our last and final thing, as we are officially done with every review. Let's move on to news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So let's begin, as always, with upcoming events. Now, we do have two events coming up with Wrestling Revolver. The first one is on the 22nd of March, Goated. They announced Mustafa Ali will be taking on Jake Crist. And then there's an unsanctioned street fight for between Matthew Palmer and Rich Swann. Now, Matthew Palmer, if many of you remember, he was suspended indefinitely due to a situation in a previous Revolver show. So now it seems that he pleaded his way back. So I don't know what's going on there. Stardom. No, then we have the We Did That in Chicago. Marcus Mathers, WWE ID prospect, will be participating. Now, as you know, we got the Stardom Cinderella tournament, the final, and this will take place real soon. However, this is the full card taking place. We have Rian versus Fukigen Death. EXV members Maika, Waka, and Hanako taking on Akira Kuragane, Yuri Him, and Tabata. Then we have two semifinals of the Cinderella tournament. First one, we have Sayaka Kurara versus Azusa Inaba. Then we have Hanan versus Rina, the two sisters. So whoever walks out will be joining into the finals and become this year's Cinderella tournament winner. Then we have, of course, the members of Neo Genesis, consistent of Azumi, Miyu Amusuka, Meisira, and Suzuki, taking on Hate members Sayakami Tani, Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, and Raka. Then we have, of course, a match between Star members and God's Eye. We have, for Stars, we have Mayu Iwatani, Azuki, Saida, Koguma, and Momo Kogo, taking on God's Eye's Shuri, Saki Kashima, Lady C, Rana Yagami, and Tomoka Inaba. Then we have a bit of a Cosmic Angel showdown I would say this will be a perfect test for Yuna Mizumori and Aya Sakura to test themselves against, of course, Tam Nakano and Sayuri Anu. So that's going to be good. Then we have the match between, of course, Mina Shirakawa versus Tekla. As you all know, if Mina Shirakawa wins, Tekla has to apologize and pay the fines. But if Tekla wins, well, she gets to fight anyone she wants. Many people are saying she's going to call out the president, Taru Okada. And then we have, of course, the Cinderella Tournament final. Like I said, whoever walks out in those two matches will go to the finals. We'll just have to wait and see. And then finally, the white belt, the Wonder of Stardom Championship, will be defended. Starlight Kid makes another defense, this time against Konami. So we'll see how that progresses. Now, GTO on the 16th of this March, Azusa Inaba will be in a match against Yuria Him from Stardom. This is, of course, the first time Yuria actually wrestles outside of Stardom. RevPro will have their epic encounter on the 16th of this month for the Undisputed British Cruiserweight Championship. Will Caven will defend his belt against Robbie X and Stephen Wolf in a three-way match. And then we have Zoza versus Hejiseto. Then, of course, Las Vegas promotion, Future Stars of Wrestling, for their upcoming event Mecca that will take place on the 28th of March. Swerve Strickland makes his return and he deals with Kenny King. So that's going to be a really interesting match. Then we have, of course, MLW's Battle Riot taking place in LA on the 5th of April. Jesus Rodriguez will be an entry in the Battle Riot. Then, as you all know, Dragon Gate will be in Las Vegas. They announced a first time match taking place. We have Yamato taking on Rich Swann. And then, of course, we have the West Coast Pro upcoming new show called When the Lights Go Out in the city. And this will take place on the 30th of May. And then finally, we do have that collaboration between both Prestige Wrestling, Deadlock Pro Wrestling, and West Coast Pro with the United on June 1st. The match has been announced. We have two former WWE superstars will be taking place. Trevor Lee, formerly known as To the Moon. Yep. He'll face off against Cedric Alexander, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, many of you may have heard recently about Natalya's recent developments where she's going to be appearing in Bloodsport and, of course, NWA. So she talked to Ariel Elwani about the whole thing. Let me pull that up real quick. The full transparency of what she said so we can get a better, clear idea. This is what she had to say. Because I had a lot of faith in Triple H, I have a lot of faith in his ability to tell the stories. And I have seen just the last year, for example, the entire company is hotter than has ever been, ever. We're hotter than the Attitude right now. Madison Square Garden was just like we're in a locker room and the floor it was vibrating. Every show is big. It's not just WrestleMania. It's just Royal Rumble. Every single show we are doing is sold out. Every single show is big, and a lot of it has to do with the direction and we're telling the stories. Prior to this isn't a dig at anyone by any means. I will be thrown into a story that would just like last week, or just thrown into a match, or just thrown into this, or thrown into that. And I think I was always, and I still am, a good sport and a good team player. I always want to do the right thing. I don't like to make demands or throw my weight around or be difficult. But sometimes I would find myself certain storylines and things that I knew were going anywhere. So it's hard sometimes when you may have certain perception of what you or how you are. And I think that's incredible of telling stories with talent. It takes time to tell those stories, though you see very, very slow building. Even the Naomi Bianca Jade storyline, it's slow building story, but they finally get to where they need to be. And they're still going. It is good. And I think that takes time. But in order for me to reinvent, I have to take chances. So my decision to resign the company and my faith in the company's new direction is where it's going new leadership and the way we tell stories. Sometimes it doesn't happen right away, but I also think that I have to do my part as a talent. You cannot get comfortable, and I say this all the time. And that when I'm coaching in my ring, the dungeon. You cannot get comfortable when I see people tell me that they want it. They are not in shape. I'm like, you're comfortable. When somebody tells me that they want it, but they don't um, train, um, train. It's when somebody tells me that they want it, but they are not a student of the game. You have to watch everything, and I watch everything. I watch wrestling across the board because I want to see what everyone else is doing, and I want to find inspiration. It doesn't have to just be in W, but the thing is, I think there's so many great opportunities right now with the company being at its as it just direction that it's going, and the ability to tell great stories. That for me, I'm excited. Just dive into that, but in the right way. So basically, she's saying that she knows that she believes in the faith of what's going on in the WWE in the leadership by Triple H, but somehow she doesn't feel like she's being energized in the entire storyline. So it's understandable. So she took a chance to do it outside, and I think it's a great idea. I mean, no one's stopping her just yet, so we'll see if that doesn't happen. Now, you may have heard recently about Scott D'Amore appearing in uh, uh, being at the performance center. He kind of gave his what he was talking about, his visit. This happened. It was reported back last November, and this is what he had to say. I was down in Florida, and I looked at going to the performance centers before even back into Impact in 2017. I never got the chance to make it when we were chatting then. I was in the area and had an opportunity to go and have a look at the very best training complex that has ever existed in professional wrestling. I was happy and honored to get a chance to look at that and see how they are doing things there. I don't think this is something that needs to be read into deep. Somebody in wrestling showing up at the place where they do something in wrestling and chatting with a few old friends, and everybody went there in their separate ways. And also, I went to Jacksonville Jaguars game while I was down there. Nobody reported that. I get it. People want to speculate sometimes that just nothing more than being there. So yeah, so basically he just wanted to check things out, and of course, no one was going to report him that he went to see a Jaguars game because of both AEW and WWE are not their competition, so it makes sense. But there's no indication that he's saying that he will be part of WWE or anything else. But we do know he does have an upcoming Maple Leaf show real soon, so hopefully we'll get to review that. But as of right now, I think we're officially done with everything. So let's just call it a day. Okay, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up as a priority, we do have TNA and Ring of Honor. So I'm sure with TNA, we're close to Sacrifice, their latest upcoming show. So I'm looking forward to that. For Ring of Honor, I don't know what to expect. I hope everybody enjoys the video of me attending the Ring of Honor show that happened back last month. So I'm very excited for that. Or was it earlier this month? I don't know. Anyway, so we'll see what happens. But for right now, I will say that I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.